What if your body has been trying to tell you no for years, but you keep saying yes? What if the clearest boundaries you can ever set don't start in your mind, but in your gut, in your chest, in your bones? Well, hey, my beautiful people, welcome to the Season of Self-Love Podcast. It's your girl, the goddess, Nyomi Banks, and I am so glad that you are here with me for this Wisdom Wednesday. Well, this March, we are focusing on reclaiming your boundaries and learning how to honor our own yes and no's. And that not just words, but they are what we're listening to the wisdoms of our bodies. And today's guest, Michael Ostrolenk, and I'm hoping I'm saying his name, but if not, we're going to say Michael O. He is a psychotherapist and he's a somatic coach who helps people stop overriding themselves and start setting boundaries that actually stick. Because here's the thing, y'all, your body knows. It's been telling y'all all along. And the question is, have you been listening? So let me welcome you properly to the show. Welcome to the Season of Self-Love Podcast, the season of healing intentionally. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am so glad that you are here. This season, we are slowing down to go deeper. Every Monday and Wednesday, we're creating a space of intentional healing, authentic conversations, and the kind of self-love that transforms from the inside out. This podcast is brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, where we believe that loving yourself intentionally is a foundation of true transformation. So whether you're on your own journey of rebirth, navigating life transitions, or simply choosing yourself, this is your safe space. So get comfy, grab your favorite beverage, and let's heal together intentionally, because you deserve to embrace that beautiful person that you are. Now let's get started. Well, all right, my beautiful people. Well, today I am joined by Michael O. He is a psychotherapist, a human system optimization coach, and he is the creator of body-based boundary practice. Well, Michael's work is all about tuning into your nervous system and recognizing your real boundaries and reclaiming self-trust from the inside out. Well, Michael, welcome to the Season of Self-Love. I am so excited for this conversation.
I am too, but I got to say, I love your introduction. Like, I can just watch that for hours. What a beautiful way to start this conversation.
Thank you. I am truly excited for it. And the listeners know it is always so aligned. Like, they really know the universe, God, whatever they want to call it, always know when I need it, when they need it. So this is in tune, right on time, right on right. But so before we dive into this conversation about boundaries and body wisdom, we're going to do what we always do here on the Season of Self-Love. We are going to ground ourselves with a 60-second guided meditation. And today, I really want you to drop into your body. And I want you to notice your feelings. So wherever you are right now, and if you can just take a moment and just to close your eyes if you can. And I just want y'all to get comfortable, all right? All right, my beautiful souls, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I want you to just pause for a moment with me. And I want you to put both of your feet flat on the floor. And I want you to feel the ground beneath you. Notice the support. Now take a deep breath in through your nose and slowly release through your mouth. Now place one hand onto your heart and one hand onto your belly. Now feel that breath moving in your body. I want you to notice where your tension is. Notice where you feel the ease. Now say quietly to yourself and repeat after me. My body is wise. Now inhale. Exhale. Now say, I am safe to listen to what my body tells me. I trust my boundaries. I honor my yes. And I honor my no. Now, one more breath in. release, and say, I am reclaimed, I am unashamed, and I am home in my body. And when you are ready, gently open your eyes. All right, my beautiful people. If you are new here to the season of self-love, this is something we do every episode just to help ground us before we get into the topic at hand. All right, Michael, thank you for this. Now, you ready to dive in?
I am, okay, but now I have to give you a second compliment. Not only I'm competing in my head. Do I love the introduction to your show, or do I love the meditation? Both are beautiful.
Thank you. We just love it all. We just love it all.
Right, yeah.
All right. So this month of March, our theme is reclaiming your boundaries, reclaiming your boundaries. So I want to start by asking you, what does reclaiming your boundaries mean to you, and why is the body so important in this process?
That's a great question. So I look at boundaries as an invitation from one individual to another individual to connect in a very unique way to them. I don't think there's a universal thing around boundaries, because how you and I connect would be different than how you and someone else connects. But that decision on how it happens is an invitation by you with them. It's a conversation that has to take place. And it's a conversation that takes place over time, because I just use us as an example, how you and I connect presently, maybe you and I become friends, we start hanging out, and that the invitation changes over time.
Yeah.
And it requires us to come to an agreement how we want to relate to each other. Mm-hmm. In order for us to come to those agreements, I have to know, and you have to know, what I want, how I want to show up, how I want this other person to show up, in this case you, and I need to clearly articulate it. For me to be able to do that, I need to be self-aware. Like, yes. What do I want in this relationship? How do I want my emotions to be dealt with? How do I want my thoughts to be dealt with? If we're in an intimate relationship, how do I want my physical body to be dealt with? All those things have to be really clarified in one's mind. And it's not rigidified, meaning like whatever I determine it in one moment, a year from now or 5 years from now, I might reevaluate that, because the dynamics of the relationship might change, or I might evolve and grow, adapt and learn, become a different human over time. And how I think about these things and how I want to show up as a whole human being might adjust as well. So yeah. It's an iterative process, and ones that can and should really evolve over time. But I haven't really gotten to the body yet, but that's kind of like an overarching philosophy that I use.
Yeah. And I love when you say that, because sometimes when people set boundaries, and I know we're going to go a little deeper, but I love how you say, even, from here to 5 years, those boundaries might change, because the relationship might change, and even the language might change. And I think a lot of people don't understand that sometimes those boundaries do change because of whether you have the mental concept of where you are in that relationship, or even your perceptive of understanding, or even how life is for you. It changes. And so those boundaries change, because as we're going to learn today, sometimes your body tells you things that your mind doesn't know.
Oh, 100%. And, I'm trained and licensed as a marriage and family therapist almost 30 years ago, but I've been practicing as a coach for 25. And I just want to clarify that. But, and I'll just use like a family dynamic as a construct for us to talk through this moving forward for a moment, at least. And to your point, like, when I used to work with families, I work with couples now and individuals and men's group, but when I used to work with families, how, for instance, a parent might relate to a 5-year-old is different than how they relate to a 10-year-old, to a 15-year-old, to a 20-year-old, to, a 40-year-old, son or daughter. Why? Because hopefully that person grows, evolves, matures over time. And the necessity of reevaluating the boundaries is important. Like if a parent, I would imagine, I would hope, would be much more concerned for the safety of a 5-year-old, and a lot less concerned, mostly, depending on the maturity of the adult, for a 25-year-old.
Exactly.
So, the boundaries of the relationship hopefully would change over time.
Right.
And even within the dynamic of a married couple, I'll give you another example that I find, unfortunately, a lot that occurs when children leave the home, and there's the empty nest syndrome. Mm-hmm. And for 17, 18 years, the parents have been facing together the children and, helping them grow. And all of a sudden the children are gone and they face each other and they don't know who each other are.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, who are you? Who are you? And unfortunately, at that time, a lot of divorces take place because they haven't built the foundation and grown it over time for a long-term sustainable relationship. As I say, because most of the focus has been on the kids. And of course, you want to focus on your kids, but not necessarily at the expense of your marriage.
Yeah.
And that's where boundary conversations are so important. And to the point you made that I was also making too, they evolve over time.
Yeah.
It's not just me to kids or parents to kids. It's like, the parents to each other.
Yeah.
As examples. Like I said, we haven't even touched the body yet.
Yeah.
But, there's seasons of life. It's developmental. There's an evolutionary process to it. And I think it's really important for all of us because, hopefully who I am in 5 years from now, or even 6 months from now, hopefully is a slightly more evolved human being,
Exactly.
Which means that I would hope that I would reevaluate my boundaries and how I want to invite people to relate with me differently than 2 years ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, 6 months from now, 5 years from now.
Right. And that should honestly be our goal. Our goal is to continue to want to grow and to evolve and to elevate to be, better people, a better person, All right. So now we're talking about the body. So this is our next segment is how people override their body's nose. So let's talk about that. How do people most commonly override their body's nose? What does it look like in real life? Because I think a lot of people are doing this, but they don't even realize it. I know that I have. I know plenty of times my body was shut down on me in an instant when my body's supposed to say no, and I'm overriding it, doing something, and my body just go and shut down on me. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's you nailed it. So let me step back and share. When I work with clients as a coach, not as a therapist anymore, I ask two questions: why one does what they do and how one does what they do. The why is more kind of therapeutic. Like, where did this behavior come from? Why did it generate, maybe a family of origin type of thing when I was a child or 5 or 7 or 10, 15 years old. Something happened to me and I developed this way of engaging the world. Okay, that's interesting. But just because you know the how just because you know the why, doesn't necessarily change the fact that you do the thing. And the thing is like, how do I do it? So let me give you an example. So if you came to me and you're like, I'm really angry. I'm like, okay, how do you know you're angry? I'm just angry. Okay, cool. And I would just continually ask you the same question from different angles. Like, but how do you actually know? You might say, I don't know what you mean, Michael. I said, well, I'll give you an example. I don't want to pre-program you with how I might know I'm angry, because we're all uniquely different. But like, for instance, when I feel that I'm getting angry, my heart beats a little bit faster. So there's a change in the physiology of the heart. And usually one or two things might happen. I might hold my breath or I breathe faster. But in my case, I usually hold my breath. Okay. And when I get a little angry, there's some tension in my jaws, my shoulders get a little tight, a little queasiness in the gut. Okay. And as I get angry too, I'm noticing almost fire in my eyes. I can see red, and my eyes actually get really narrowly focused. And there's a certain thinking pattern with a certain tone and volume. So I'm aware of how I do this particular emotion. Okay. And the reason that I think it's important to know how we do certain things, how we organize ourselves in terms of certain emotions, because it's in that we learn how we don't actually have access to certain parts of our body. And what do I mean by that? Or the intelligence of the body, the wisdom of the body. So when I hold my breath, for instance, because I'm afraid of feeling deeply this anger because I'm afraid I might hurt someone, myself included, or someone else. So I hold my breath. Well, I most likely learned how to do that as a little kid, like 5 or 6 or 3 or somewhere around there. And the reason, one of the things we tend to learn how to hold our breaths is because we don't want to feel our feelings. Because if you hold your breath and you contract the muscles here in the fascia, it gets really tight, I guess, you actually limit the flows of the energy. You're actually protecting yourself because maybe you're afraid that if you get really angry, this big person called your parent might hurt you. So you've learned to contract against the feeling. Because maybe your father or your mother or your caregiver said, I'll give you something to be angry about. Little boys don't cry. Whatever the message is that taught you not to feel certain things. Okay. And that message gets ingrained not just in the mind, but in the body. There's wisdom in the body. If we're contracting against feeling fully feeling something, we're losing out on the information that wants to come to our conscious awareness about what's really happening inside ourselves and how we're really perceiving the world around us. But these are all defense mechanisms we've created unconsciously to protect us. That's the same with all the stuff around boundaries and not feeling certain things. We know, like, I'm engaged in a conversation with someone. There's a feeling in my gut. Something's off here. Or, I'm walking down the street and like, it's body sense tingles. And like, I know there's something wrong with the situational awareness in the environment. Because we've learned how to shut down, especially from our childhood, feeling certain things, we then have a tendency to do the same thing when it comes to like intuitions, gut senses. And that's kind of what you're sharing with before. Like if you really sat with it and you're clear, you did that meditation. Mm-hmm. You might be like, oh, wait, I really shouldn't be in this relationship. I should not have signed that contract. I should not be engaged with this person. I shouldn't go into business with this person. Like, there are signals that are coming in over time, maybe a big signal like smacks in the back of the head or little ones over time. But because we've learned how to contract against feeling things, we've contracted against feeling those things too. And I can make some gender specific things because it's even harder for women. But I'll stop there because.
Yeah. But, I love all of this because we don't think of that. No one knows this. They really don't. It's so overlooked. Do you understand? It's so overlooked. And even the example that you made about even as a little person, when you were a little child and a little person and you told, don't cry, or, if you cry too loud, I'm going to give you something to cry for. Yeah. That your feelings are hurt. And that's the only language that you know, or the only expression that you know to do is to cry. That's the hurt that you feel. I love in the beginning of that, of your answering that question when you said about, I'm angry. And you said, well, what does that, what tell me, how are you angry? What does that look like? Yeah. And I was thinking you were going to say, well, why are you angry? You didn't even ask, why are you angry? You was like, well, what, well, tell me, how are you angry? Well, what does that look like? And it's like describing, how do you feel? And that's something that no one never asks. Well, how do your body feel? How your arm, your leg, your feet, your head, what is that emotion? What is that feeling in there? Give it an action, give it something to make it feel. Why is that feeling that way? Why does it do that? And to me, what it's saying about, it's a connection. I'm connecting the word. It's a connection. That's what I'm feeling and I'm hearing right now when you say that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can add a couple of things. And actually, if you don't mind, I can tell you a story of a couple that I work with.
Okay, go ahead.
I think it's a really good conversation starter around boundaries or the lack thereof, the lack of clear, articulated, conscious boundaries. So I had a couple that I worked with. This is years ago, and I think he was 32, she was 31, and they got together when one of them was 18 and the other was 19, and he was a very jealous 19-year-old young man. Now, instead of saying to her, hey, I have a lot of insecurities, because no 19-year-old boy is going to say that to a girl. I have a lot of insecurities, and I know you're not flirting with these guys, but when you talk to them, it really hurts, really triggers me. And it's not my place to tell you not to talk to people, but I just want to let you know when that occurs, I'm not blaming you. I just get activated. Like no 19-year-old guy is going to be that clear on his own experience with a young lady. So what he does is she talks to another guy, and like objectively from the outside, she's not flirting at all. She's just talking to a guy. Like there's no way 8 people in the room, if there's 8 people in the room, all 8 would say like, she's not flirting with him, she's just talking to him. But because of his upbringing, his own past experiences, his insecurities, he gets really insecure around it, really jealous. But instead of saying what I just said, like, acknowledging his insecurities, asking for his, even clarifying around boundaries. Like, could you not do that in front of me until I work on this issue? You could be clarifying on the boundaries. But no, what he does, or what he did do, is he just stopped talking to her. Like, they'd be together, she talked to another guy, he would just shut down and be grumpy for the next couple hours. And, she had a choice, but her choice was, I want to be with him. So the message is, I better not talk to other people in front of him. I should not talk to other guys in front of him. So he set a boundary. He helped create a boundary for her and how she's going to relate to other human beings, men in this case, but it wasn't consciously done.
Yeah.
So when they were 31 and 32, when I was working with them, we excavated this boundary, or what I call this agreement, because there's an agreement that emerged.
Mm-hmm.
And they both had to laugh because they're like, oh my God, like she's been acting on this for the last, was that 11 years?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh my God, he was no longer insecure. And he realized like he was 19 and he's a kid and he had some immaturities with them and he's really apologetic. But for those 11 years, they acted out that agreement, that boundary that they created for each other, or he created for her, that she acted on. They broke it apart. They looked at it. They realized like we're not 19, 18 years old anymore. We're a lot more mature. Let's excavate this. Let's look at this. And the new agreement was like you can talk to whoever you want to, because I have full faith and trust in you. Like you've never given me any reason not to. So like a different discussion, a different agreement occurred 11 years later. It's unfortunate they had those 11 years of like this kind of weirdness that was going on. But that was all about boundaries and agreements, but unconscious, implicit, not explicit. Because she just saw his behavior, that face, the gruffiness, his, and then she just shut down. And that's a lot of the times happens around boundaries. We're not really clear on what we want the other person, how we want to engage the other person. We make faces, we do, and our tone, our volume changes. We're setting boundaries, but not really consciously.
Right.
And not in agreement with the other person consciously.
Right. When you said that, I know you see me smiling. I'm smiling because I have my middle baby, and she's going to be upset when I share this story with you. We had met. It was a few years ago. We had met her boyfriend. Then he's still her boyfriend. Well, he was 19 years old. 19. They were 19 and they were dating, and we met him for the first time. And we were sitting at the dinner table. We were sitting at a restaurant. We were talking, and I asked questions. I asked all the questions. And and he was so very honest. He was so very honest. He was like, I am very clingy. He said, I am very, he gave all of his, excuse my language, he gave all of his shit. He gave, he gave it all. And I looked down over there at her and I said, did you hear what he said? Because we heard what he said. Did you hear what he said? She said, yes, I heard. I said, no. Did you hear what he said? He said he's very clingy. He said that he has some trust issues. Did you hear what he said? Oh, yeah, I did. I heard. But we're good.
That's impressive, though. Like,
yes, it was.
Let alone a young man.
Yeah, and I think the thing for him, and even right now when I talk with him now, and he's trying to work through it, but it's very, he's trying to work through it, but it's hard, and explaining to them, us coming up is different. The influence, we didn't have social media. We didn't have any of this that's going on right now. And so the influences that we had was the guys, the people next door, the neighbors, and people in school. That's it. The papers, the magazines, that is it. So we didn't have any of that online stuff or that situation or anything like that. And so when it comes to, self-esteem and things that we do, we kind of knew who we were. We didn't have to compare ourselves to anybody else in the world. That wasn't, we were more comfortable with who we were and in our communities as well. And so even when speaking with them and her, with the both of them, I said, when you're in these relationships, you have to understand who you are. Mm-hmm. And you have to be accepted of who you are as a whole. Mm-hmm. When you're going into this relationship and about agreements, mm-hmm. when you, and the thing is that I love the book of 4 Agreements, and I remember sending it to them, and both of them read it together. They read it together 2 or 3 times. And why I have them to read it, because they get into arguments a lot from misunderstanding, but not only that, they don't know how to communicate with one another. And the 4 Agreements is one of the most amazing books because it helps you to be able to communicate not only with yourself, but with one another, with one another in that aspect of not taking things personal. You understand what I'm saying? And it's really trying to break it down for them individually, but also coming together as one with that and making agreements. That's why when I had a question, because you said, and they made an agreement 11 years ago. I guess my thing, I would want to deep dive in for her, what's her healing process after the 11 years? Because there is so much, trauma that happened within that 11 years that she kind of lost her identity or who she was or her authenticity by compromising of who she is for him through that. But that's a whole nother thing. That's what I was thinking. That's a whole nother thing right there, for that healing and about the boundaries. So how do you even set that up to new boundaries for that coming from off of that 11 years?
Yeah, that's great. But let me actually make a comment because I mentioned earlier, like it's even harder for women, and like kind of explain that, and it lands really well with what you said. I've been taking a survey of all 5 billion women in the world, but my over the last 30 years, my experience with women therapeutically and in family and friends and relationships and stuff, like romantic relationships, it seems to me that our culture does a poor job of supporting women getting in touch with their own bodies and trusting their own bodies. It's like, and I'll tell you a beautiful story. And this is a million years ago. And it blows my mind to even think about this. But when my sister had her period, my sister was 4 years older than I was. My dad brought her flowers. And this is like 1986, like 84. I mean, this is a million years ago. Which I thought was like retrospectively a really beautiful thing because he's acknowledging her entry into womanhood. But our culture, here's your whatever tampons, like here's your thing, but there's no acknowledgement like your body is changing, and it's really important to be able to really feel into the changes of your body and adapt accordingly. Or perimenopause, menopause, like it's major changes, sexually, skin, hair, your energy levels because the hormones are shifting. But women, we've medicalized those things.
Yeah.
Instead of really teaching women to be aware of these things, there's wisdom in there. I mean, maybe it's not that fun all the time to have these things occur, but they do occur. And we teach women not to trust their bodies. And we look at how we do medicine. We really don't this is not just specific to women, but humans, but a lot of women too. We don't teach people to trust their own intuitions about what's happening inside their own bodies. Like even our medicines, like almost like more of factory universal, like this is what we do for every person with this particular thing. Well, everyone's unique. We're biochemically unique. We're biopsychologically unique. Like we should play into that, take advantage of that, whether how we do education or how we do healthcare, how we do our relationships. Like we're all different human beings. I mean, we have a lot of characteristics the same as we're humans. But I think our culture does a disservice to us, especially with women, because we're taught not to trust our intuitions.
Yeah. And I love that you said that. Even in you explaining that, actually, I can relate to that because I'm actually just coming off of, I just had my breast implants removed just this past August. And I had them for 22 years.
Wow.
And my body was just not, I was very sick. I'm still sick, migraines and all of that. But I had breast implant illness. Okay. And if you heard of that, it took a long time for them to even consider that even being an illness. Actually, it just last year, just last year is when they truly consider it to being an illness that they really, acknowledge it, but it took that long, that many years to even go that far, and so when you think about it, we've been gaslighted a lot, going forward. I remember going to so many doctors, going through so many tests and, trying to figure out what was wrong with me and how, going through. And I was just blessed that I was able to meet a surgeon that truly believed in it, and now, he no longer puts implants into women. He said, I did an oath. I would never, do harm. I made an oath of no harm, and I will never do that ever again. So my thing is to remove those implants and make them look as beautiful as they could with their natural, given breast that God has given them. And, and I understand we all should have a way to do things with our body, but I'm so glad that I listened to the signals that was given to my body. Last year, for me, it was a rebirth. When I started last year, I did not understand what the rebirth was for me. I really didn't. By March of last year, I was like, okay, I sat at my altar And my body was telling, you need to get these out. It's like I heard it loud and clear, like, you need to get these out. You've been sitting with these in your body for so long. It's time to remove them.
Do you mind if I ask a
So
question?
I do it. Yeah, I removed them, and yes, I'm still, residuals from it, because it takes a long time to remove the toxins from my body, from that. But I'm starting more now to listen to my body. The one thing that I just being in this society, just being in America, we are conditioned to be those go-getters, to go, sitting, and that's me. I always say I'm a recovering perfectionist. I'm always the type that's always to go. I'm a sprinter. I say I'm a sprinter. Now I am a marathon runner.
Okay. All right.
I'm a marathon runner. So now I have to take my time. And so me doing, meditation, and I make sure that I spend, when I wake up in the morning, I go to my altar and I spend 30 minutes to an hour sitting at my altar and taking the time to do that, because I need to do that, because I need to find that connection and that oneness with myself to slow it down. And Michael, I've been doing that for 8 years now.
That's great.
Yeah, for 8 years now. And this is what I love to do. I've lived the fast life, and I mean fast life. And people say, Nyomi, I said, no, I love this. Excuse my language. I love this shit. I love being here, speaking to you all here, doing this. I love speaking on self-love. I love getting down to the core of who we are, so we can be so better people, so we can teach our children to be better people, so they can go out there and be a ripple in this world for, better things. And if we tell if it's language that we can teach our bodies that we don't know, oh my God, that's amazing.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I think it might help to kind of elucidate the concept of somatic tools and stuff. You said you listened to your body, and your body was telling you to remove the, to remove the chest implants. Now, was it in English? Like, did you hear voices? Was it visual? Like, how was your body speaking to you?
You know what? You hear that cough that you just had? I had, oh my God. It felt like it was something that came through my body, and it was just like a hard, first it was a burning. It was a burning, and then it was like a wound. It just felt like it needed to be pulled out. Then as I'm sitting there, as I'm sitting there, I feel a light whisper on the side of my head that say, "Take them out." That is all that I heard and I felt was, take them out. But the cough, when I heard that, then my cough got hard, and I kept that cough until I had to cough from March until August 13th. I got my breast implants taken out on August 12th.
Okay.
But now I have the cough back again. And the cough returned back to me on right after Christmas.
Do you have an idea what you're calling out for with the cough? Like what the purpose of the cough might be?
You know what I think it is, and I was speaking to someone last week about this energetically. I believe right now I've cut off a lot of people.
Okay.
And I've readjusted my boundaries. I've created new boundaries. Yeah. And so I'm in my pivot season, even though I call this reclaim and unashamed. This is my year, but this is my pivoting season. That now I'm no longer going to where I was before. I'm now pivoting, and as I'm pivoting, I'm removing some of those people that were in my life that no longer. And some of those people have been in my life since I was born.
Wow. Okay.
So they're no longer there because some of them don't understand what boundaries are, and not trying to understand what boundaries are. Not that they did anything wrong with me, that they're no longer aligned on what my beliefs is and what I've been put on this earth to do is to serve. Does that make sense?
No, it's beautiful. And it kind of goes back to what I originally said about invitation. Like you have a particular way you want to engage people that are important to you. You're inviting them to come into your world, share worlds basically within these parameters, these guidelines. And if
Yeah.
they don't fit within that, hey, no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
Not necessarily they're a bad person. They're just not your person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
when those conversation begins to change, so really what I believe this is a part of my grieving, the grief. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
If you mind me asking another question,
No, I'm fine. Go
have
ahead.
you ever done Chinese medicine, like acupuncture?
No, I haven't.
It just came to me that I might encourage you if you can find a good traditional Chinese medicine practitioner. One of the limitations of Western medicine as it's now practiced is it's very physical medicine. You have an organ and the doctor deals with the organ. In Chinese medicine, they look at psychology and the physicality of the body. So it's emotions, mentation, or cognition, and the body and how they all interrelate, and the energetics too. And that's mostly missing in Western medicine. Now, there are some, mind-body practices. There are natural medicine like a naturopathy or a doctor of osteopathy. So some schools of Western medicine do recognize the mind-body connection. But since you're seemingly so aware of like how the emotions and your psychology affect your physicality, Chinese medicine might be a nice, interesting place for you to explore.
Thank you for that. And so let me share this with you too.
Sure.
And I don't know, maybe this might help me out. I'm so sorry. Maybe this will help me out. It's because I am so, and when I say this, because I know a lot of people say they are empath. I think I'm beyond the empath. I think I'm beyond this. I can't even walk into stores. When I walk into stores and I walk past people, it feels like I'm being stabbed in certain areas of the store.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so it's very sensitive where I get migraines. I feel so I don't go into stores anymore. It's certain stores that I don't go into. And this started happening probably about maybe 7 years ago. Like very energetically, when I feel people, when they come in, I feel their energy before they get into the home. I can feel people energies from across the country, like literally. And I will feel sick until I will speak to that person. Wow. And then when I speak to that person, then it will, it will ease down. And I'll be like, oh, okay, And I used to do this one thing to where I say, that's not my energy. But now what happened is I disconnected myself from them. So I kind of like just block off so I won't get their energy as much. But it's like I'm so sensitive, to it. So most of the time, Michael, I am in the house.
Actually, so if you don't mind us using you as the great example of like reclaiming your boundaries using somatic tools, how did you create the distance between you and them so you're no longer absorbing their energy? Like what happened inside of you that allows you now to do that?
I had to choose me first.
Okay.
I had to choose me first. And even as and I love her so much and she has such a beautiful heart. When I speak to one of them, I have to be in a park. I have to be in a park, and I have to be by a tree or walking. I have to be grounded.
Okay.
I have to find places to ground when I'm speaking to certain people, and I know that helps me when doing that.
Okay.
So that what helps me so that's my boundaries with them. You understand what I'm saying? So I have to be in certain spaces and places for them. So I know, and that lengthens that. So when I see them call or whatever, it's like, okay, I put them on hold, meaning that pause. I will call them when I'm able to get to the park, whether that's next week or 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
And that will hold off of that. Then I will go to my altar and I will do a prayer for them in that moment, whatever that prayer is that is needed. And then I will be somewhat okay.
Okay. So like for instance, using you as an example, so what I hear for you for creating boundaries, you have an intent. This is how I'm going to be.
Yeah.
Ground yourself physically on the earth. You create space in nature to connect, I guess, with nature, right?
Yeah.
You're temporally bounded, meaning like I don't have to do this minute. I can choose to do it next week. I can choose to do it 2 weeks from now. I can choose not to do it. Like, so your boundaries are not just physical, energetic, and mental, but they're also temporal too.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And it took me, and really, Michael, it took me a minute to get there because I had to go through steps with myself, with the guilt, with all of those things that I had to go through. And that was just with a few people. Now it's like I have to start over again with someone else. And, this is what I will call her. This is my survival sister is what I would call her. She's my survival sister that we've been through a whole lot of things together. And as I grew, she did not grow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a long time. And, we're 56, so, it's, like hey,
yeah.
we this story, I can no longer subscribe.
Yeah.
It's things that, we have to do. And, and I've accepted my assignment. I'm not afraid of it.
That's good that's awesome for you. And that kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like hopefully we all evolve and grow over time. Obviously you are and continue to do so. Unfortunately, not everyone does.
Exactly.
But, back to like the somatic tools we can use for clear yes or no. You laid out what works for you, which is awesome. And I just say for everyone might be unique in how they use certain things to get to yeses or nos. But like I look at it in at least 4 different things that you can ask yourself these questions. What does my gut say? Which means you have to actually have a good relationship to your gut. You need to be paying attention to it. There's valuable information in the gut. Doesn't mean it's always right in terms of like capital T truth, but there's information there. Let's pay attention. What does your heart say? Like listen to your heart, but that requires us to open the heart as fully as possible and be in the love of the heart to listen more fully. So those are two kind of really big organs. I think the rational mind is useful too. Like it's a great tool. It's a horrible master, as they say. And like you can run pros and cons. Like use your rational mind. Is this the right relationship for me to be in? Whether it's personal, business related, romantic, whatever it is. As an example, relationship oriented stuff. Like, okay, here's my principles, here's my values, and let me walk through. Does this meet my needs? Does it meet my values? Does it meet my principles, my ethical code? All this stuff. Yes, no, and you can kind of use your rational mind to figure these things out. So I'd never say don't use your mind. Use your mind. Use your heart, use your gut. And then I say that, in a spiritual sense, because I've heard you kind of bring in the more spiritual things into this conversation, is what I call a trans-rational intuition. Those aha moments we can get. And you get them, I don't know where you get them, but sometimes you get them in the weirdest places. Like you're in the shower and all of a sudden you just get hit. You just get this hit like, oh my God, it's so clear to me. Mm-hmm. Or you might be going to the bathroom or making love or walking in nature, or you're a meditator, your altar. You can create the conditions for it to more likely occur, like through meditation, prayer, yoga, chanting, things like that. But it also happens spontaneously. So be more open to the trans-rational insights, use your rational mind, use your heart, listen to your gut, and take all this stuff and integrate it together to help you make better decisions for you and what's best for you in your life. Not you, but all of us,
Right.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I love that you said that. So let me ask you this, because I want to make sure that the listeners really understand. What's the difference between boundaries with the mind and boundaries, from the mind and boundaries from the body? Because I think when people set boundaries in their head, but then they struggle with how to actually hold them, is that because they're rooted in the body?
Well, that's a great question. And in a lot of the work that I do with individuals and even with my couples too, I talk about the need to be in alignment between your thinking, your feelings, and your nervous system. Mm-hmm. Now, you're not always going to be in alignment. And a great example for any of your listening audience who works out, goes to the gym and works out, you're not always going to want to wake up and go to the gym. That requires discipline. Why? Because you don't feel like it. You have this story in your head, I'll go tomorrow, my body is tired, all the things that could talk us out of going to the gym. So sometimes you're not always going to be in alignment. You have to use discipline. but I always work with my clients to have as much alignment as possible. So I might have in my mind, oh, here's my boundary in this particular relationship. Cool. But my nervous system doesn't agree. Why? Because perhaps I had a traumatic experience in my previous relationships and I'm not trusting. So I'm not, my mind says one thing, even my heart might be like, I love this person, yet my nervous system gets really funky around this person. Now, maybe it's because that person's giving me vibes that I'm unconsciously processing and really feeling here. I don't get it here, but I'm feeling it here. Or maybe it's my own stuff. But that's why the somatic work is so important. Like, what is mine? Because maybe I'm perceiving this person in very bad ways because of my upbringing, because of the trauma I experienced, because of all the things that I'm doing that might help me read this person a certain way. And or maybe I'm reading this person correctly somatically. Like, I'm around them, I just don't feel right. Like there's this negative vibe that comes from them. I just don't feel good around them at some level or some degree. Not in my mind. My mind goes, they're a perfect partner on paper. They look great. I'd love to be in a romantic relationship with them, or they could be a great person to be in business with. But I don't pay. I'm here. I'm going, this is great. And my body's going, no. Goes back to what you shared earlier. Like we've been taught not to listen to anything below us. We need to start listening.
Yeah.
Make a determination. Is this my stuff, interpreting this relationship in a particular way? And or is it really them that's triggering at some deep level, a deep knowing that I should not be engaging with them? Or maybe I should be.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something I need to engage them. But we won't know until we really start listening and deeply connecting to our bodies.
Yeah. You know what? I'm sitting here, I'm looking at the time. I'm like, oh my God, we don't have a lot of time. We need a part two.
I'm good. I'm ready.
Part two. Oh my God. All right. So because I have a whole lot of questions. I have about caregiving, I have about high achievers, I have all of that. But I want to save that for a whole nother show, if you don't mind to come back for that show
I
too.
love that. Yeah.
Oh my God, because I think I really think that you will really do amazing. And we're going to talk after this too. We're going to talk after this. But could you do me a favor? Because one thing is that I do give my listeners assignments. I give them assignments. So if there was one thing, 1 week that you can give my listeners an assignment, what practice for body-based boundaries would you give? Where can they start? What's something that they can start with?
Can I give 2?
Oh, you sure can.
Okay. All right. So the second one is actually a boundary-based boundary practice.
Okay.
First one's going to allow that boundary-based practice to be more fully realized. Okay. So when I work with my individuals or my couples, and for my couples, they always found this to be very strange when I first bring this up. But I talk to them about, we need to optimize your physical body. We need to look at your sleep, your diet, nutrition, your fitness, your movement, how you deal with stress, and how you deal with circadian biology or the 24-hour day-night cycles. And my couples are always like, what's that have to do with romantic relationship? I'll tell you a story. The reason is, as one example, I have a couple that I work with, and the gentleman has a really hard time sleeping. He has sleep challenges. So he wakes up almost every morning grumpy. Now, if he's grumpy and then he has to, and unfortunately for a lot of human beings, when they're sleep deprived, they eat way too much sugar. Mm-hmm. And they have way too much caffeine, which just disrupts their whole system even more. So his energy is going like this. He's grumpy. He's hangry, I think that we call it, hangry. Have a Snickers bar, which makes me working with he and his wife really challenging.
Yeah. Because
I can teach him all the skills in the world, but if he can't really practice them because he feels like crap. Okay. So I always say with my people, no matter whatever they're working on, really, let's explore those things. Physiology, physical things, and let's dial them in as much as possible. Why? Because when you feel better, you're more capable of doing the psychological changes. Right. When you feel better, you have the energy, the focus, the capacity to relax the body, more likely, and go inward. Because a lot of people don't like to go inward anyways, let alone they feel like crap. Now, it doesn't mean when you're not feeling well, you can't go in. And I would actually encourage, that's a great time to go in, because your body's actually trying to share something with you and you can take advantage of it and learn. But, just as a general practice, okay, let's dial in all those things, because then you're more capable of sitting quietly and then doing part two. And the part two is very much what you walked us through at the beginning with our meditation. I do the exact same meditation without the beautiful voice with my clients. Like, I literally have them do this and this. Now I explain this, and this is what I encourage your people to do. Like, the hand on the heart is biofeedback. You literally can feel underneath your fingers the heartbeat. Heart gives you valuable information. Am I stressed? Am I wired tired? Am I anxious? Am I depressed? Like, you can feel the differences in your heart once you start paying attention to it. Very valuable information. Yeah. Biofeedback. Hand on the abdomen. Most of us are chest breathers. Mm-hmm. The healthier way is full breath, like an abdominal breath and chest, like everything expands, everything contracts. I always tell my people, put your hand on the abdomen. So when you inhale, you feel the extension away from the spine. And when you exhale, you feel the contraction towards the spine. Biofeedback. It's great because you make sure you're breathing properly and you breathe more fully like that in a slow manner. You're more parasympathetically activated, you have more access to the prefrontal cortex, you think more clearly. Ultimately, you don't say dumb shit because you're less stressed out. You calm yourself down. But you're also beginning to develop a relationship with your gut. Yeah. You're feeling that. So even though just those two things for a 2 to 3 minute meditation, what's happening in my heart, what's happening in my gut while I'm breathing, and bringing awareness to them, that is a great first step to start developing somatic awareness.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right, Michael. So before we go, we got a new thing that we do here. It's called a lightning rod. So I want to ask you this. It's a lightning rod that we do. We do it every time. And it's something new that I've been asking. I just asked them. So what are some signs that someone is out of alignment with their boundaries? Like, how do they know that they need to pay attention?
Okay. And I'm going to say something, and I don't mean this aimed at you, mm-hmm. but migraines or headaches. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have some kind of physical expression when they're out of alignment, and sometimes it could be migraines or headaches. It could be brain fog. It could be GI distress. It's literally your body, and there are physical causes for these things. Like, it could be the toxins from your breast implants. So I want to make a distinction. Like, in some, if not many cases, there could be a psychological component, but in many, if not all cases, there's probably a physical component too, environmental factors or whatever it happens to be. Okay. On the psychological side of any kind of physical expression of pain and suffering, that's it. That's the valuable information. Like, do I have chronic distress somewhere in the body? My knee always hurts. My toe hurts. My stomach is bothering me. I have diarrhea. I have gas. I'm belching. I have acid reflux. My heart hurts. Breathing problems, headaches, tension in the shoulders. Like, there might be, most likely is, some psychological component there about being out of alignment, and your body is trying to wake you up to it. And it's louder and louder and louder until you finally listen.
I feel that. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that one. Thank you for that one. All right. So you ready for this lightning round right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Just some quick, honest questions. All right. Here we go. A sign that you're overriding your boundaries.
Wow. A sign that you're overriding your boundaries. So I've kind of walked through the physical suffering and pain and chronic challenges you might face physically in the body. Let's go to dreams. I do a lot of dream work with clients, and you might start seeing over a certain period of time a certain type of dream showing up that's unique to you. Because I can't say this is the kind of dream you have when you're out of alignment, because everyone's unique. But if you start noticing, like, if you're in a situation, it just feels a little bit off, and all of a sudden your dreams are shifting, start paying attention to it. Because what I find from more of a Jungian sense, that your dream time has many different purposes, it seems. Consolidate memories, all that kind of good stuff. And it also is an opportunity for your whole system to work through unconscious things that are going on. And yes, you can listen to your body, and you should feel the heart, feel the gut, all this stuff. But your dreams also might be sharing with you valuable information of things that wants to come to your conscious awareness.
Right.
And maybe it's like you're out of alignment, and your dreams might get louder and louder and louder and louder, just like the body, until you wake up.
Good. All right. Next one.
Yeah.
A somatic reset you use.
So I'm a rucker, meaning I throw a weight vest on, it's right over there, and I go out in nature. Now, I'm not going to necessarily recommend everyone throw a weight vest on and go out in nature, because for some people that might be the wrong thing to do somatically, because it could cause a lot of tension. I love nature. I love going for walks. I love to ruck, but I love to ruck. And up until, because I'm in New York right now, and we had like all this snow, but prior to winter hitting, I would go for walks every night. Like I finished my last coaching call around 8:30, 9 o'clock, and I would go for a half an hour walk, because the fresh air, although I'm in a city, as fresh as it can be, the physical movement, is quiet, because I live in a quieter area of New York City. It's a beautiful way for me to kind of reconnect with self and with nature.
Yeah. I love that one. I got me a 20-pound waist vest out there.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Okay. We should talk offline. That's good.
All right. A belief about boundaries you wish everyone will retire.
That boundaries are walls.
I love that one. I like that one.
Boundaries are invitations, not walls.
Yeah. Okay. And the last one, fill in the blank. My body tells me.
My body tells me, and this is my cutting edge, and this is what we've kind of been talking about. We're talking about boundaries for self, though, not necessarily in a relationship. And you said you've been, and I use the word strive driver, like in our culture, like we just go do the thing. And I have the amazing willpower. I get shit done. I have front side focus. I do the thing. My lesson the last couple of years has been, that's great. You're really good at that stuff. Slow the fuck down and listen to your body. You need to rest. If you need to move differently. Maybe your time in the gym is not doing hardcore, heavy shit all the time. Maybe a little bit of yoga or some Tai Chi. What's your body actually need versus this image I have of what has to get done? Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that one. Thank you for that one. You was talking to me on that one. All right, Michael, really, thank you for this conversation. It has been so rich. It has been beautiful. And I know people are going to listen to this over and over again. Nice. So tell us, where can listeners find you at? Where can they learn more about your somatic boundary work? Let us know. Share your website, your social media, all of your resources. Let us know. Tell us.
I appreciate that. All right. So michaeldostrolenk.com is my website, and it has my individual work, my work with couples, men's group, my corporate work. So I also do corporate leadership training. I spend way too much time on social media, but I do post daily. So you can find me on Facebook under my name, LinkedIn under my name, Twitter, Instagram under my name. And I just started a Substack a couple weeks ago. And I write on somatics, I write on relationships, I write on team building, a wide variety of stuff, because I've been doing this for 30 years and almost everything interests me. Human health and well-being. But you can go to any of those places, and I can send you like the links you can include in the show notes if you like. And you can follow my work there if you'd like.
Beautiful, amazing. So y'all heard it. All of the links that we're going to have in the show notes. So make sure you guys check that out and connect with Michael there, and just start practicing these somatic tools and start listening to your body. Y'all know I tell y'all my stories all the time, how my body just shut down on me, because sometimes I can be a little hard-headed at times, but the body would definitely tell you everything. It will let you know. Michael, again, thank you so much for just being here today with me and just giving us such practical grounding tools just to reclaim our boundaries so we can come home to ourselves. This is exactly, I know what I needed today. I know I needed this today. Oh my God. All right, my beautiful people. I hope that this conversation has reminded you that your body is so wise. That your body has been trying to speak to you and to guide you, to protect you. And reclaiming your boundary means learning to listen. It means honoring your yes and your no's. And it means trusting your gut. When I mean trusting your gut, your intuition, your body signals. It means setting boundaries without guilt and holding them with love. Your body is not the enemy. Your body is your home. And when you come back home to yourself, everything changes. If this episode has resonated with you, I want you to share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave a review, connect with Michael, and start practicing one of the somatic tools that we talked about today. And as always, send me a message on Instagram. I love hearing from you. So until next time, it's your girl, Goddess Nyomi Banks, reminding you to be good to one another and yourselves. And you know what? Always keep it simply sexy. Have an amazing day. Have a good one. Thank you so much for joining me today on this journey of intentional healing. I hope that this conversation has filled your cup and reminded you of the beautiful and worthy person that you are. I want you to remember, healing isn't about rushing. It's about showing up for yourself with love and intention, one day at a time. So I'll see you back here Monday and Wednesday for another episode of the Season of Healing Intentionally, right here on the Season of Self-Love podcast. So until then, keep choosing you. And visit us at the seasonofselflovepodcast.com for show notes and resources. And remember to connect with me on Instagram at The Real Nyomi Banks. This has been brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, because your healing matters. You are loved, you are worthy, and you are exactly where you need to be. Take care.